by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
So we established a new civil rights cause of action for those whose intimate images were shared on the public screen. How many times have you heard, I'll bet everybody knows somebody somewhere along the line, that in an intimate relationship, what happened was the guy takes a revealing picture of his naked friend or whatever in a compromising position, and then literally, in a sense, blackmails or mortifies that person. Send it out, put it online.
Now the Ukraine, and St. Patrick's name is now Zelensky.
What do we do now? Verbally. It's about being made in America. A lot of that has to do with this industry.
To go along with this, and I'm seeing through all of your lies, Barack Obama, you wicked, wicked devil!
Welcome back to another night of Stick with Koolfrogg. It's just me. If you're looking for anybody else, I don't know what to tell you. Haven't heard from a couple of people in a few days. Hopefully, I hear from them soon. It's kind of concerning when you actually talk to somebody for as long as you do, and then all of a sudden they don't appear for a few days. That being said, what we're gonna go through today is we're gonna actually watch a couple of videos from Joe Biden, and come straight out of the White House. And there are a couple of choice videos. There's a couple clips that have made their rounds in the last few days on Twitter for sure. That being said, these videos that had been found or had been made, I mean, they're a little ridiculous. But there's other things that actually happened other than these little clips, like the bird pooping on his shoulder. The bird pooping on his shoulder that happened, 2 days ago. So then 2 days ago, this video actually happens. And there's plenty that happens in this 31 minutes, other than the fact of the bird pooping on his shoulder within the first, minute. It's very, very interesting how soon that happens.
Today.
Oh, we're all wonderful.
Well, thank you so much for being here. So glad to see such great
thanks for having us.
It's really an honor to have the President of the United States
I'm sure it is
here with us today. I'm so thankful that he's here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wonderful to be back here at Poet by
That white Wyoming wood.
People who have been working so hard, folks I've met over the last several years, to produce a renewable domestic alternative to fossil fuels. And folks, I have been fighting tooth and nail for this, year after year.
Yeah, because, fighting the fossil fuels is really where it's, the fight is really worth it. Because, you want that clean energy, you want that wind power, you want those solar panels, and then you don't do the research on what makes the turbines and what makes the panels and what goes into actually producing all this stuff, all the metals that come out of the iron ore mines, all the plastics that come out of the oil wells. Oh, what? Really? We use natural resources to make these products to be able to make the product that uses the energy that we want to use. We should build cars that run off of batteries before we do all that. That way we're using other energy sources that we plug our cars into before all this occurs. Because, that's the smart way to do it.
Because I always knew that we needed to make biofuels a part of our clean energy solution, and we're doing that right here in Iowa.
Great.
Investing in biofuels not only helps Iowa's farmers and rural communities, but also lessens our nation's
Yeah, how much is a
reliance
bushel of corn
on
right now?
fossil fuels and brings down prices for Iowa families. President Biden knows that ethanol, which is created right here at Poet Bioprocessing,
Yeah, how much is a bushel of corn right now?
is significantly cheaper at the pump, reduces our carbon emissions, and provides good paying jobs like right here at Poet in Menlo. And so the president is here to support that. And so I'm so immensely grateful for the president's work in upholding the renewable fuel standard and keeping biofuel production going strong.
Current
And I'm
price of
thankful
corn
for
as
all
of
the
April
investments
11th,
President
2022
Biden
is
has made in Iowa in his
$7.64
time
and a
in
half
office.
cents.
Everyone needs to know how much that is.
Per
Iowa,
bushel.
as we know, has more structurally deficient bridges than any other state in the nation. And thanks to President Biden's leadership, we've already received $650 million in new funding for roads and bridges. And over the next 5 years, Iowa is expected to receive more than $5 billion from the Infrastructure Investment Act, which helped to expand the Des Moines Airport, repair pesky potholes, and make sure that bridges can bear enough weight so our farmers can get their goods to market. And we're also getting poisonous lead out of our drinking water and so much more right here in
So
Iowa.
they're
I'm
messing
so
with
proud to
the
be a part of
pipes.
that.
They're going to
I'm
play
really
with the
proud to have
roads.
supported these investments that
And
will
they're
help
going
keep Iowa happy
to, quote
and
unquote,
help to make
fix
sure that
our
we right here in
infrastructure.
Iowa have a fair shot
Ooh.
at the 21st century economy.
Let's see
And I'm
here.
excited to see the impact that these investments will
2016.
have in our great state.
We'd like to use
Thank you all again so
2016.
much for coming out here today. And thank you, President Biden, for your
$3.70 a
I'm going to turn it
bushel.
over to two wonderful people, Rachel Connor, who is the grain merchandiser here at
July
Poet, and
2019
Joe
looks
Biden,
like that was
President of
about the
United
highest,
States of
sitting
America.
at $5. $4.42, all the way down to $3.54 through parts of 2020. But then, 21 happened, and we're all the way up to $8, $7.69. It hasn't been that high since August of 2012. Who was president in August of 2012? 2012. 2012. Oh, second term
My
of
name is
Obama.
Rachel Connor, and I am a grain
Because,
merchandiser here at
we're
Poet Mill.
working on the third.
What that means is that I help purchase all of the grain in the bins from nearby farmers. And it's truly the honor of a lifetime to welcome President Joe Biden and all of our distinguished guests to Poet today. I am a fifth-generation farmer who was born and raised right here in Iowa. I've spent countless hours on the farm, driving a tractor, and many more in college and grad school studying agronomy. These days, I drive nearly 100 miles round trip to work here at Poet, where we make plant-based biofuels, nutritious feed, and a growing number of renewable co-products. I'm excited to be part of a company and an industry that's doing its part to make the world a better place. Since I'll be headed back home about 50 miles tonight, you can bet that I'll be fueling up with E15. And come June 1st, I hope to keep saving money with E15.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Many of you may recall when President Biden campaigned here in Iowa, he promised to support biofuels, grow green jobs, and cultivate a low-carbon economy. Today, America is battling Putin's price hike, and Mr. President, I can tell you our nation's
Yeah, it's
entire
Putin's.
biofuels
Has nothing to
industry
do with
stands ready
Biden.
to help. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Nothing
let's
to do
give a
with any
warm
of that.
Iowa welcome to President Joe Biden.
That was almost funny. Careful driving home tonight.
Thank you very, very much.
I think maybe we should check on that young lady, make sure that she made it home the other night.
This campaign here and I made that commitment. I don't think anybody heard it, but we're back. We're back. And my name is Joe Biden. I work for
It's Joan?
Congressman Axney. There she is. I learned a long time ago when she says, I just say yes. I say yes right off the bat. I tell you what, she is one hell of a champion for you. I mean it. I mean it. You ask anyone, if you ever come to Washington, walk into the Congress, say, you know anybody from Iowa? The first thing they'll say, they'll mention her name. Anyway, she says, thank you. Thank you for your friendship. To start, I'd like to say a few words about the mass shooting in New York City subway this morning. You've all read and heard about it. Jill and I, my wife,
Yes, we'll pray for everybody's life that was lost.
For all the first responders who
And
jumped in action, including
don't
civilians.
listen to any of the conspiracy theories that are out there, because some of them are kind of off the wall.
My team has been in touch with Mayor Adams, and New York's police commissioner, and the Department of Justice and the FBI are working closely with the NYPD on the ground. We're going to continue to stay in close contact with New York authorities, and as we learn more about the situation over the coming hours and days. And something could have broken between now and the last hour. I haven't heard the news. I haven't spoken to any of my staff. But we're not letting up on it until we find out and we find the perpetrator. Now, to the reason I'm here today. I want to thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Congresswoman Axney. When you hear about progress we're making in Iowa on everything from biofuels to bridges, you can thank Cindy. That's what you. No, I'm not joking.
Yep,
I am
don't
not joking.
make sure you point your fingers at everybody else. Make sure that none of the blame gets put on
No
yourself when
offense at the White House.
stuff starts flying.
Huh?
Huh? Oh, kidding aside.
I also want to say a special hello to someone who really wanted to be here today. You think I'm kidding. He's the guy that brought me to the first biofuel plant in Iowa years ago. Your former governor and my Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack. Unfortunately, couldn't be here today.
Yeah, unfortunate.
He went to a press event in Washington, and like 2/3 of the people who went, I think, they got COVID. He's doing fine. Spoke to him, but he couldn't be here. But I'm here today to talk about the work we're doing to lower costs for American families and put rural America at the center of our efforts to build a future that's made in America. And that's not hyperbole. It's about being made in America.
Oh, here it comes.
A lot of
Ready?
that has to do with this industry.
Poop.
I just had a chance to see the work you do here and turn more than 40 million bushels of local corn into 130 million gallons of ethanol a year. That's a lot of gallons. We want to see facilities like this all over the Midwest. Here's why. First, it supports farmers and the farm economy. You know, everybody thinks
Who
Delaware
owns
is
the
big
most
industrial
farmland in
banking
the
state.
United States of America currently?
We have a $4 billion
Can anybody answer
small
that?
agriculture bill. And it's supposed
Bill
to have
Gates.
more chickens in Delaware.
It's
more
Bill
chickens
Gates.
than you have in the entire Midwest, I think. But all kidding
We can
aside,
all whisper into
it's
a
big
mic.
industry in
Joe
Delaware.
Biden.
And my state, everybody thinks is an industrial state. It's a very rural state. The largest city outside of the main city of Wilmington, Delaware, is almost 150,000 people, is 20,000 people. It's a rural state. And so we understand about getting rural communities engaged and being able to make it generally. And all that corn in the silos is from farmers within 60 miles of it. Knowing you have a buyer gives farmers something they don't often have: peace of mind, certitude about where their product is sold,
Certitude.
their price. Second, it creates good-paying jobs. It's estimated there are over 400,000 jobs directly and indirectly supported by this industry nationwide. There's a lot of people. That's a lot. And a lot of paychecks, and good, decent paychecks. Third, it reduces our reliance on foreign oil. By adding this fuel to our gasoline,
Yeah, and only vehicles that can actually run off of the E85 stuff actually can use it. So, I mean, it's great. It gives you a choice at the pump for those that can actually take the choice.
You have better prices.
Some people
In
can't
addition to all
take that
you get
choice.
less harm to the environment, lower greenhouse gas emissions. You
And
get even
when people,
byproducts like
you know,
grain here, which goes into animal
actually
feed,
do
which helps cattle producers and lowers
use
their costs.
certain
This is an industry
biodegradable
with a
fuels
tremendous
like
future.
that or whatever, and they
I've
actually
set a goal of zero carbon
travel
for aviation
distances.
sector,
They
for example, by
notice
2050.
the difference
I've spoken with the leading heads of all
in
major
miles
airlines.
per gallon that
It's
they
gonna
get
require
and the
billions
difference
of
between
gallons
which
of
ones they're
sustainable
using.
aviation.
So, I mean,
You simply
you
can't
know,
get to
you
net
really
zero
go
by
with
2050
what's
without
best for you.
aviation. Aviation is the case where you blend in a little bit of biofuel. It's where it's called drop-in, meaning 100% biofuel. You don't need to take my word for it. Take the word of the CEO of American Airlines, who said, sustainable aviation fuel is the cornerstone of our strategy, end of quote. The CEO of United Airlines, who called the first biofuel-powered flight a significant milestone for our efforts to decarbonize our industry. To bring that future within reach, I proposed a sustainable aviation fuel tax that we brought together the governments, agencies, aircraft manufacturers, airlines, fuel producers, airports, advanced, cleaner, and more sustainable fuels for American aviation. That's how we're going to get there. And we can. We're in the cusp of so many significant things that are going to happen in this country, not just in the fuel side, but in the next 10 years. Your children are going to see more change in the next 10 years than we've seen in the last 40 years. That's how
That's
rapidly
scary.
technology is changing. So this industry has a role to play in a sustainable energy future. But I'm here today because homegrown biofuels have a role to play right now, as we work to get
Right now.
prices under control and reduce the costs for families. Look, I grew up in a family, not a joke, where if the price of a
Why is everything not a joke? Nobody's telling you that everything that comes out of your mouth is a joke, Joe. But if you keep on telling us that it's not a joke, eventually when you tell the joke and you kind of say, oh, that's not a joke, we're not going to believe you. Quit crying wolf, old man.
gallon of gasoline went up, it was a conversation at our kitchen table. It mattered. It mattered.
Kitchen
to my mom
table.
and dad. It made a difference. We felt it. Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food.
Putin's invasion has driven up gas prices. That's the problem. That's what drove up the gas prices, because gas prices weren't already increasing beforehand. Oh, hey, what's up, Grim? I do not know where anybody is. Sorry, I'm not paying attention if you're not still here. I'm just sick of the crap. I don't know what to think of what this man has to say. This old man is just disturbing and disgusting.
Food prices all over the world. The two largest grain producers in the world, China and, Ukraine and Russia, are not doing what they usually do, so everything's going up. We saw today's inflation data. 70% of the increase in prices in March came from Putin's price hike in gasoline. We need to address this challenge with an urgency that demands. That's why I've called on Congress to move immediately to lower the cost of families' utility bills, prescription
Slow
drug bills,
down.
and more, while lowering the deficit to reduce inflationary pressures. And that's what we've done. We lowered the deficit by $300 billion so far.
Are you sure?
Expected. So, folks, we can do these things without raising a penny in tax on anybody in this hall. Yeah. In this
He
giant
doesn't
farm.
even know what he's in.
Look, it's going to make a big difference for families. You know, and it's the most impactful way that Congress can address inflation right now. But even as we work with Congress, I'm not going to wait to take action to help American families. I'm doing everything within my power by executive orders to bring down the price.
Executive orders.
Price hike. In fact, we've already made progress.
So
since
not
March
laws,
of
not
2010.
regulations, not any
Family
executive
budget, the ability to
orders.
fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide half the world away.
Oh, we're going to talk about dictators now? We're going to point fingers at who's a dictator? Because, you know, I remember somebody actually saying something about a dictator only runs the country by executive order. And if we actually go and we do the math, yeah, put them up. You go and you swear. You go and you figure it out and you actually think about it for a few seconds. Everything that just came out of your mouth is a bunch of poppycock bullshit.
Commits genocide half the world away. They're a your family budget, your ability to fill up.
The dictator is this person right here that's sitting there talking and running this country off of executive orders.
Whether a dictator declares war.
You're the dictator. We know who the dictator is.
War and commits genocide half the world away. To help deal with this Putin price hike, I've authorized the release of 1 million barrels per day for the next 6 months from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is by far the largest release of our National Reserve.
Keep on releasing our oils out of our reserves and watch what happens shortly thereafter. This isn't going to be comfortable for anybody. I don't know why everybody keeps on thinking that everything's just going to be peachy keen and hunky-dory. You're just going to keep on moving on and moving on. No, this guy's sinking us. Anybody that thinks that what they did with with this guy, for this guy, what this guy is supposedly doing, this guy is the problem. Look how, you know, he's got his shirt all unbuttoned. And he's got himself without a tie because, you know, that's the way a president doesn't look. You're going to be at the barn. You should just take the tie off, sir. Who told him to do that? Very unprofessional.
In history. It's a wartime bridge to increase oil supply as we work with U.S. oil producers to ramp up their production this year. Coordinated release with partners and allies around the world. I've spent hours and hours with my counterparts around the world trying to get them in on the deal. And shortly after I made the announcement, over 30 countries agreed to release another 60 million additional barrels onto the market. Over 240 million barrels over the next 6 months is the bridge to be able to make sure we are going to be able to keep prices down. This is the largest collective reserve release in history. Hundreds of hours of meetings with key allies, keeping them together is paying off. Putin was counting on the division of NATO, the division of the European Union, the division of the world.
No, he wasn't. I really don't believe that. I really don't believe that that's the actual truth. I don't know. I don't know the exact truth, but when it comes down to it, I don't believe that. I don't believe that that was the case. I believe that he knew exactly who was going to be there in this man and decided, oh, best time, let's do it. They put this guy in office. That's just my personal feelings.
We spent a lot of time, but they're all following, every single one, including in Asia, South Korea, Japan, Australia, all of them. Nations coming together to help deny Putin the ability to weaponize his energy resources against American families in Europe and around the world. And by the way, we're also cutting off access to technology for him. Without American technology, look at the number of major American companies on their own, not at my urging. Over 600 of them, from Exxon to McDonald's, have left Russia. He has a burning tundra, literally. It's burning. Permafrost is burning. He's got a problem. And we're not going to let him cause that problem to spread to the rest of the world. And that helps stop the run-up of oil prices that have begun bring prices down a little bit. As a result, countries acting together to release this reserve. And America should be seeing the savings. And
We're not. We're not seeing the penny of savings on any of it. Because whatever is actually happening with Russia and China deciding to actually go and change currency for the purchase of oil around the world from the US dollar to the ruble, I mean, it's gonna make the US dollar even worse than it's already at, because we keep on printing more.
we're not just learning and leaning on our reserves and our allies and partners to help bring down gas prices and to power the nation. We're leaning on you, our farmers, our biofuel refiners. Today, I'm announcing that the environmental, and I don't think as much of an announcement, is already broken out pretty much the last 24 hours, but the Environmental Protection Agency is planning to issue an emergency waiver to allow E15 gasoline that uses more ethanol from homegrown crops to be sold across the United States this summer in order to increase fuel supply.
Yeah, you see her face? She's like, oh, really? That's what's going to happen? Because, again, not every vehicle runs off of this stuff. You're just going to go and you're going to say, oh, here, you can use this? People need to pay attention to what they're actually using, what they're putting in their vehicle, and make sure that they're not destroying their vehicle as they're putting the wrong fuel into their fuel tank. You can't just go and use whatever you want because you want to use it. There's only certain particular cars that can actually use it. I know there's a lot more than there had been in previous years, but at the same time, you really seriously need to think of it. You're going to destroy your car. Woo! We all get to make more money this year.
Folks,
So they think.
I feel like, thank you. I feel like, as a minister, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here. But here's what it means. E15 is about 10 cents a gallon cheaper than E10. And some gas stations offer an even bigger discount than that. But many of the gas stations that sell it here in Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania are required to stop selling in the summer. But with this waiver, on June 1, you're not going to...
What makes you think that Pennsylvania is part of the Midwest?
that sell it here in Iowa, Illinois.
Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, North Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri. That's your Midwest. Pennsylvania, nowhere near. He has Pennsylvania on his brain because he doesn't know how to actually get Pennsylvania off of his brain, because he's got it etched in his head that that's where he was originally from, but he's from Delaware. He has to remind himself of that continuously so that he doesn't forget. Dementia's a thing.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania are required to stop selling in the summer. But with this waiver, on June 1, you're not going to show up at your local gas station and see a bag over the pump that has the cheapest gas. You're going to be able to keep filling up with E15.
Usually when they put bags over the pump isn't because there's no fuel. They put a bag over the pump because the pump is
It's
broke.
not going to solve all our problems, but it's going to help some people. And I'm committed to doing whatever I can to help. Even if it's an extra buck or two in the pockets that they fill up, make a difference in people's lives. And even though E15 is only available in a few thousand pumps today, we're investing more than $100 million to build biofuel infrastructure of the future. Things like blender pumps, the gas pumps that can handle higher blends of bioethanol and diesel fuel. Of course, there's more we need to do to bring down the prices for American families. We're also working to address food prices, because right now, farmers aren't getting a fair deal nationwide, and neither are families at the grocery store. Back in July, I signed an executive order to promote competition.
Again, another executive order. How many executive orders do you think a person really needs to sign for people to think and understand that, executive orders aren't always set in stone? They're executive orders. They simply end by the second you rip up the piece of paper and says you're no longer there. So, dictator.
Petition to help level the playing field for many family farmers and ranchers. Because, as many of you here know better than anyone, that 4 big companies control more than half the market for beef, pork, and poultry, giving ranchers very few choices about who to sell to get their product. These big conglomerates drive down prices they pay farmers, and even as they drive up prices at the grocery store. So we're investing up to $1 billion in the American Rescue Funds for new and expanded meat and poultry processing capacity throughout this country. And this is something I've talked about with Brent Johnson, who is here today. We're going to invest.
So this has changed. As of April 11th, Joe Biden had signed 87 executive orders.
Lifeblood of our economy. It's going to give farmers and
Again,
ranchers
the
more
most
options to shore up a weak point in our food supply
any sitting
and
president.
bring down prices for American families. I've said it before and I say it again. I'm a capitalist.
Maybe I should do a
Without
read. We should read
capitalism,
all of
without
them.
competition Isn't capitalism. It's
We'll
exploitation.
do a set down each show. We'll read it. One of the executive orders or part of one of the executive orders,
Investing in infrastructure.
and
My introducer's going to drive home 50 miles.
tell everybody
We're going to make sure of the
what this man is actually doing.
state and around the country that aren't safe. I hope you're not going over some of them. And that starts with roads and bridges. It really does. As Cindy's pointed out, Iowa has more bridges than any other state in the nation that are classified as structurally deficient. 4,500 are in poor condition. And here's the reason why Cindy's work in the infrastructure law was so important. About 2/3 of the bridges in need of repair in this country are considered off-system because they're not directly on the interstate highway system. Back in January, I was supposed to speak in Pittsburgh, which I did,
How far is off the
but on the way there,
highway system before
the
you
bridge
get?
collapsed in the city. That's what most people don't realize. It's called the city of bridges. There's more bridges in Pittsburgh than any other city in America.
Wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong. It's not true. He keeps on spitting lies, and he makes you believe these lies. We'll Google it real quick. We'll use the Google machine, and we'll go and find out which city has the most bridges in the United States. Does Pittsburgh have more bridges than New York City? Despite the persistence of much loved myth, Pittsburgh does not have more bridges within its city limits than any other city in the world. Which state has the most bridges? Oh, We're not looking for state. We're looking for city. What city has the most bridges? What city has the second most bridges? Because we have to remember, when we go and we use a Google machine, Google, just like a bunch of other ones, are part of the left, you know, because they're the ones that own the media, just like YouTube. Hi, Susan. And when they own them, they're going to continue to spew just that. It says 446 for the quote-unquote city of bridges. How many bridges are in the city of New York City? New York City, there are a whole lot of New York City bridges. 2,027 to be exact. Sounds like a lot more to me. But, you know, who am I? I have no clue what I'm talking about.
And that morning I got there, it collapsed and went straight to the site. The bridge had been rated in poor condition for the last 10 years. Thank God nobody died. It was about, I'm guessing, maybe 300 yards across a little bit of a valley and a shallow creek. And the steepest part of the bridge to this creek was probably about 8 or 10 stories. It was a snow day. And that bridge, if it weren't a snow day, would have had, at the moment it went down, school buses with hundreds of kids going across that bridge. This stuff matters. I mean, it really matters. I was telling Cindy back, I was in a small town in western Pennsylvania, and they needed a bridge. The bridge
Again, we're in Pennsylvania.
The length of, not half the length of this room. And guess what? The fire station was on one side, and the town was on the other. But because they couldn't take the fire trucks across that bridge because they were afraid it would collapse, they had to go, if I'm not mistaken, either 10 or 11 miles. It was 5.5 miles up and 5.5 miles back to get there. And they had a fire, and they couldn't get there in time. Just across, they could see it. It was literally maybe 500 yards away. They couldn't do anything about it. These bridges are essential for small towns in my state and yours towns and rural areas, for farmers to get their products to market, for small businesses to be able to serve their customers. These are bridges that, when they're closed, shifts off delivery and routes to schools, routes home. It takes
It fixed the words for them? That's great. It shifts.
When every second counts. And you all, Cindy can cite it for you, the statistics are. You get in an accident in a rural area, you have about a 40% greater chance of dying than you do if it happens in a city. It just simply takes longer to get to the hospital, longer to get to the dock. So in the bipartisan infrastructure bill, we included $27.5 billion for smaller bridges, including dedicated funding for off-system bridges. And folks, look, we used to be rated the #1 infrastructure, had the #1 infrastructure in the world. We're now number 8. The United States of America. The United States of America. Folks, here in Iowa, our bipartisan infrastructure law is delivering $93 million for those bridges just this year. $93 million. And at least $14 million for off-system bridges this year. Look, this investment is going to help connect entire towns and regions to new opportunities. We've gone from waiting for Infrastructure Week, now you got infrastructure decade. 10 years. 10 years.
10 years of your crap.
And we owe it to you, sir. Look, it's going to help workers get jobs, good paying jobs, products get to market, reduce costs for families. With this investment, we're sending a message to America's small communities and the people who call you home, this home. You matter. You matter. We see you. Not a joke. And we're building.
Quit saying not a joke.
We're making sure.
You keep on saying that, we're going to keep on thinking that everything you say is actually a joke.
Universal, affordable, high-speed internet. I was surprised at this number, I have to tell you. 16% of Iowa households don't have an internet subscription. In some places, there's no high-speed infrastructure at all. Zero. The law will make high-speed internet affordable and available everywhere in Iowa. Think of what that will make possible. Telemedicine.
I mean, I don't know if I really.
Small businesses that want to be able to
I mean, from the stuff that I've heard from them, I don't know if I actually believe
no parent
that's the case.
pull into McDonald's or fast food chain.
Um,
Hook up to the internet in their car so the kid can do their homework online. Think about it. The United States of America. We're the guys that came up with all this stuff. Our infrastructure law invests in clean water and wastewater system, including a major investment in Lewis and Clark rural water system to bring clean, reliable drinking water to more than 350,000 people in South Dakota to Minnesota to northwest Iowa. It matters. It matters to the health, it matters to convenience, it matters across the board. We're investing in ports and waterways, including over $700 million for the Lock and Dam Project 25 on the Mississippi. You say, what does that have to do?
I mean,
A lot to do, because nearly every bushel of soy.
46.9% of Iowans have fiber optic service. 75.7% of Iowans have access to cable service. 86 have DSL service. 97.5 have wireline service. 90% of high-speed internet access of over 100 megabits or faster.
Folks, the list goes on.
I mean, again, continuously lying to us.
In fact, members of my administration and I will be visiting rural America.
We're eventually not going to believe you.
About how we can do even more.
I'm serious. I'm looking across this.
Sure, the investments we're making regional.
Stop. Look at this. Look at this right here. What did he say? Look at all the counties that are actually there. Look, every single one of them. What's this county here? Why is it white? Comparably to. Look at the 1 gig, the 100 up, the 25 up. So that means there's at least some internet service, broadband coverage. Look at 92s, 93s. I mean, I'm with anybody that says, you know, hey, we need fiber no matter what. But if you're not running fiber and you're doing anything else, that's just silliness. But 45th in state broadband access ranking, right? Iowans have access to fiber optic service, 46.9. Iowans have access to cable service, 75.7. Iowans have access to DSL service, 86.3. But when you actually look at the internet availability by AT&T and look at how every single one of them's reddish, I don't know, again, this one's white. Ida, 12.9% have access to 25 megabit per second. 6.2 have 100 megabit per second. Nobody has 1 gig. Nobody has gig. 12.7 there. 10.7. 0.59. So running, fiber optic cables would actually, increase, some of these, which I'm not saying don't do it. But what I'm saying is when you throw numbers and stats at us, I kind of brought it back a little bit, so you're going to hear some of this over again.
Were built in 1930s. Barges often need to be split into smaller groups to make it through, taking hours, sometimes very efficiently lower cost and keep American actors are globally competitive. Folks, the list goes on. I'm starting to bore myself with this important stuff. I think. In fact, members of my administration.
Does he actually really seriously think? Oh, hey, Jimmy, YouTube, what's up, man? Yeah, I definitely got YouTube back. Which I knew that I would. I just had to wait for the thing to come back, and it came back seriously at 3:50 today, which is about the same exact time that they took it away yesterday, about 3:50, which is kind of interesting in itself. But it gave me a whole day without an algorithm pushing anything for me, and basically took a Trump rally that I normally get about 50 to 60 clicks on or whatever, and I'm seriously still sitting at 6. So I mean, they're still playing their games, and this is take 3. I had attempted twice to actually get this up and running tonight, and I had issues getting it going. So YouTube finally allowed me to actually run the show. So just complaining about Joe Biden and his hideousness.
And I will be visiting rural America in over 25 states over the next 3 weeks to talk about how we can do even more to create jobs and opportunity, to make sure that the investments we're making reach rural communities, buy from rural businesses, create jobs here at home, giving your young people the opportunity to make a living and raise a family in the place where they were raised and where they want to stay.
Maybe some of them don't want to stay. Maybe they want to go somewhere else. Third time's the charm. Yeah, pretty much.
I won't ask the people. I know no woman is over 50 years of age here.
Old man. Could be a pervert.
Men are over 50. How many times have you had a son or daughter, niece or nephew, say, I don't want to move, but I have to. There's no job here. I don't have a chance here.
Maybe they're saying that on purpose because they just don't want to stay where they're at.
We're changing that. Let me close with this. When I was running for office, I heard it 1,000 times. We're going to build an economy around you, communities who feed and fuel our nation. Well, we are. We are. We're going to deal in people and places that have been left out and left behind for a long time. We're making progress. Over the course of my presidency, our recovery has now created 7.9 million jobs.
No, you didn't. I'm going to call you out on that because there's no way that you created 7.9 million jobs. How many jobs did you give back? I mean, I just want the straight up facts. I mean, were any jobs actually just given back, or was it that you actually created all of them all over again?
In almost 14 months.
almost 17, well, 14.
More jobs created over the first 14 months of any president in American history. And by in 2021, our economy created more jobs in rural America than occurred in the last 15 years. So I'm more optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life. My doc, I had an aneurysm when I was much younger.
It shows.
And I was put in the hospital as a senator. He started explaining to me what an aneurysm was. I said, I don't need to know. He said, I'm just going to take the top of your head off and do something with it. And I said, no, you do your job, I'll do mine. I'll be the patient. And after it was all over, he said, you know what your problem is, Senator? Senator, I said, no. He said, you're a congenital optimist.
This is going to be the next story that he's going to, continue to fabricate and make different, better each time that he tells it. So that way, eventually, it was 2 doctors, something. Why the fuck is he lying though? Doesn't he know people can look up those job numbers? Oh yeah, there's plenty of things that I've called him out for tonight. He was trying to tell me that Iowa's internet availability coverage or whatever is almost absent or whatever, which is untrue. I actually pulled up a little map or whatever that actually showed that most of the state actually has at least the 25 plus, which isn't the best, but there's like one county that has absolutely 1 gig, which would be fiber optic, which is obviously not optimal. You want fiber cables for optimal, but to tell us that the whole state pretty much does not have internet is a blatant lie. When you look, something like 97.5 of the state has access to a wireline service. So, I mean, how many lies do you just want to spew at us tonight? And he's talking about the prices of bushels of corn. Or he was talking about other things, fuel subsidies or whatever, and trying to sell more E85, whatever. First time since 2012, which was the Obama administration, that bushels of corn have climbed to the point of $7.69 right now. I like to go back to 2016 and use those numbers because, that's pretty much where the average was for the last administration, and the highest was $4.13. And that was at the highest. And it didn't sit at the highest. That wasn't even the average. The average was probably closer to $3.67. So, I mean, the guy just continuously tells lies. He told the story of Pittsburgh being the city of bridges or whatever. And when you actually Google the city with the most bridges in the United States, Pittsburgh now comes up as being affectionately known as the city of bridges with 446 bridges. But when you actually go and you Google, and this is Google, when you actually go and Google how many bridges are in the city of New York City, it says 2,207. But the most bridges ever, they must be the 446 in Pittsburgh. Keep on telling stupid bullshit lies, and eventually we're not going to remember. We're not going to believe anything that comes out of your mouth. The little boy that cried wolf is exactly doing that.
And I am, because I'm an American. That's why I'm optimistic. Because I see a future that's within our grasp, not my purpose. We're the only nation on earth. This is not true chauvinism, this is truth. We're the only nation on earth, when you think about it, that's come out of every major crisis stronger than when we went in. We just didn't go back to where we were, we came out stronger. Stronger. Literally, every major crisis. We turned into an opportunity. That's exactly what we're going to do today. With all of you, I can't thank you enough for all the work you put in, all the faith you have in your state, community, your country. And I just want to say, God bless you all. And every time I walk out of my Grandpa Finnegan's house up in Scranton, which died when Cole died, it's coming back. Every time you walk out the door and you yell, Joey, keep the faith. And then one of my grandmother or my aunt would yell, no, Joey, spread it. Let's go spread the faith. Thank you very much.
Another one of his stories that he likes to tell. I would almost assume that story is as much of a fib as any other. There's just another 2 seconds. No, we don't want that. So that was the first video that I was going to show. The second video came from yesterday, whatever, the 14th, which is also him. And he comes out and he talks with a college. He keeps the faith, but he's probably, he's pro baby. He loves his Planned Parenthood. Loves that Planned Parenthood. Without Planned Parenthood, he wouldn't have a following. So he goes to this. This is where the why are you yelling at us comes from or whatever, because he actually at some point in time in this clip actually yells, like pounds on the podium or whatever type thing or whatever. He's so annoying and disgusting. And who invented Planned Parenthood?
My name is Malcolm Hawkins.
Market signing.
Electrical engineering student here at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. I'm truly honored to welcome President Biden to this illustrious institution. When I made the decision to attend North Carolina A&T, I was excited for the journey to come. I look forward to learning as much as I could so that I would excel upon graduation. After being on campus for 4 years, I can certainly attest to the excellent education that an HBCU provides. I've been taught by dedicated professors.
I remember reading
who saw my
or
potential
watching
positively impacting the world.
Trump signed some stuff for HBCUs, but you know, nobody ever heard of that.
This and so much more is possible by investment in HBCUs. North Carolina A&T graduates the highest number of African American engineers, and they go on to have successful careers in government, industry, and academia. There is always a need for problem solvers who can tackle the most difficult issues, including those involving the economy, and HBCUs prepare students for the challenge. The key to this preparation is innovation, whether that's through our many centers of excellence or the new Harold L. Martin Senior Engineering Research and Innovation Complex. A&T students, regardless of major, graduate with the skills needed to transform their respective fields. Needless to say, as I graduate next month, I feel fully equipped with the knowledge I need.
If it was needless to say, you wouldn't have to say it.
I'm excited to see HBCUs continue to rise in prominence, and I can't wait to see how they impact America in the future. With that, please give a warm welcome to the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Boo. Oh. I suppose that wasn't very warm of me. I meant it warmly.
Hello, Greensboro. Chancellor, please take a seat if you have one. I said that one day, take a seat. The press pointed out to me there were no chairs out there. Thank you very, very much for the opportunity to be here. Chancellor,
I mean, I just assumed that wasn't true.
educating the future of this country. And I've been impressed. I've been on a lot of university campuses. As a matter of fact, for 4 years, I was a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania. This is really an impressive place.
What?
A lot of impressive stuff.
What did he just tell me?
University campuses. Matter of fact, for 4 years, I was a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania.
For 4 years, you were a professor? Are you sure about that? Do I need to go Wikipedia this person to see if he's telling me the truth? Is Wikipedia going to tell me that he actually did? Because I know they'll go and change it real quick.
This is really an impressive place. A lot of impressive students. And it's good to be here at A&T, and I thank you for your sharing your story, Malcolm. He's gonna. Did you say where you're going? Am I allowed to say where you're going to be working?
No.
Work at IBM, a little outfit, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. Just doxed him.
Remember, you're chairman of the board.
Good job, Malcolm.
Okay, if I go by and say, hey, Malcolm.
Sorry, Malcolm. You just lost your job.
I said, it's Joe here. I don't want to hear Joe who, okay?
Oh, he's going to hear Joe who.
Well, Mayor Vaughn, thank you for the passport into the city.
Which one?
It's great to be here with a congresswoman who delivers to the people of this district. Kathy, you do an incredible job. No, you really do. You really do. My dear friend, Congressman G.K. Butterfield. See here? There you go, man. Stand up. I want you to stand up. This guy.
Stand up. You stand up for everybody that's watching.
Over this distinguished career.
But don't turn the camera to show us.
I wish you weren't leaving, pal. I wish you weren't leaving, but I understand. I thank for all you've done. And Congressman Alma Adams, where's she? There you are. I see the hat. What am I talking about? Alma, how are you? You're the best. Thank you for all the hard work delivered for HBCUs, not just this one, but all across the country. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And your outstanding governor, one of the best governors in the entire United States of America, I say that without reservation, Governor Roy Cooper. Gov. Roy has proven himself to be not a joke, one of the finest governors in the nation.
Quit saying not a joke. Telling you, dude. You keep on saying not a joke, we're not going to take you serious.
Young people in North Carolina. He's delivered high-speed internet in rural communities. He's delivered well-deserved raise for teachers and first responders. And thanks for making a difference for the families here in North Carolina, Governor. You have set an example across the country. Thank you. And look, you can cheer. It's all right. There's a debate,
Okay, so, like I said, do we need to Wikipedia to see what you actually did? So, teaching, it says from 91 to 2008, which is longer than 4 years. As an adjunct professor, Biden co-taught, so he didn't teach it by himself, he co-taught a seminar on constitutional law at Widener University School of Law. The seminar often had a waiting list. Biden sometimes flew back from overseas to teach the class. I mean, throw some fluffy words in there to make it look like there's nothing going on, But Widener School is located in Wilmington, Delaware. He said he worked at the University of Pennsylvania. You better update his Wikipedia to show the truth, man. He's spewing stuff and nobody's believing him. If they are, they're pretty ignorant. '94 crime bill. Get me started on the '88 drug bill.
Administration that we never seem to be able to settle. And that is that the vice president is incredibly talented. She's a Howard graduate. Great school.
I mean,
And I hear
what was he waiting for? Was he waiting for like some kind of standing ovation? Oh my God, she went to Howard. He got a giggle out of it. You look at the confusion in his face. He's like, huh? Like, why aren't they cheering for that? That's good.
she's incredibly talented. She's a Howard graduate.
Yeah, Grandpa. Telling you. What you think is funny isn't. The stuff that you're saying is not a joke. I don't believe you, man. I just don't believe you at all. Nothing you say, I believe.
And I hear about Morehouse men from my senior advisor, Cedric Richmond, all the time.
Oh, yeah, sure. Once or
We've got
twice.
a great university here. But Delaware State. Delaware State. They launched me into my career, not a joke. I got elected to the United States Senate when I was 29 years old, Chancellor. Had to wait 17 days to be eligible to be sworn in, true story. And it wouldn't have happened. And I won by a rousing 3,021 votes. And it wouldn't have happened without Delaware State. Most people don't realize is Delaware has the 8th largest black population in America. And the fact is that's, as I say in Claymont, Delaware, where I was raised, a little steel town in Delaware, you all brung me to the dance. And but here's the deal. I got a member of my cabinet who is also slightly partial of North Carolina A&T, Administrator for Environmental Protection Agency, Michael Regan. Michael, good. Of course, you never hear Michael bragging about the place, as long as you don't have your hearing aid on. But look, welcome back to the campus, Michael. And let me tell you, talking about some incredible students here today, I know why Michael's so proud of this school. I really mean it. And A&T is an extraordinary university with a great tradition, an HBCU tradition. You know, more than 180 years of excellence, delivering on that sacred promise we made in America, that every American, every race, every background, every zip code should have a fair and equal chance to go as far as their God-given talents can take them. And you're providing that here, Chancellor, because there's so many great professors here, and the program here is so strong. You're giving people an opportunity to take advantage of their God-given talents. That's why I reestablished the President's Board of Advisors on HBCUs, but not one, but two North Carolina A&T alums on it. Willie Dees and Janine Yisrael. Are you here? Are they here? Stand up, Willie. Stand up, Willie. Thank you. And also includes a proud North Carolina native, an NBA star, Chris Paul. He's on it. By the way, it's a hell of a ball player. Who supports the business course here at A&T and is a fierce champion for all HBCUs. That's why I signed an executive order to advance HBCU excellence across the entire administration. Everything from policies to funding. And speaking of funding, we were able to deliver more than $5 billion last year to HBCUs and more to come this year. $5 billion.
And more to come.
And they said we couldn't do it.
He's just going to keep on feeding
But
more.
everybody's realized what an incredible asset the HBCUs.
I mean,
We're also working
it's
to
not that they're
increase
not,
Pell Grants.
but at the
Help
same...
millions of black students and lower-income families attend community colleges and four-year schools.
Because we need more people to be in debt.
She's a college professor and she's teaching as we speak.
We don't have enough people in
I'm here
debt.
today to talk about
I
my
know,
plan
a
to
Pell
create
Grant
and
isn't
expand
going to
HBCU
put anybody in debt. It's a
high-demand
grant.
fields
Loans are
like
what put people
cybersecurity,
in debt.
advanced manufacturing,
But
healthcare,
the grant usually
so much
doesn't cover the whole
and to talk
costs,
about why it's so critical that we have
which
to
is the
invest
reason
in
that you go and you take out the
manufacturing.
loan is to cover
And
the rest of
my-
it.
my dad were
So then you have to
watching
pay
now,
back
he
the
passed
loan.
away, but
When you
watching-
can't afford to pay back the loan,
Excuse my back. Excuse my back. I'm looking at you. You know, why it's essential. that
what in the
Congress
world was
take-
that? Excuse my back. What the hell?
Watching about why it's so critical that we have to invest in American manufacturing. And if my dad were watching now, he passed away, but watching.
I keep on bringing up people like my grandpa and my dad because they were better than me.
Manufacturing. And if my dad were watching now, he passed away, but watching. He said, excuse my back. Excuse my back. I'm looking at you. You know.
Grandpa, your jokes are lame. Why do you put us through this? This is just horrible. It's not even a dad joke. Even dad jokes are sometimes funny. I can't even, it just hurt my brain. Oh my Lord.
Why it's essential that the Congress take action quickly to support American innovation. I said today when I was, we were at the cybersecurity, that more is going to change in the next 10 years than it's changed in the last 50 years. Science and technology is moving so incredibly rapidly. It's all part of a broader vision that Vice President Harris and I ran on, to build back a better America than even before the pandemic. A better way, with better pay, greater dignity for working people. Easing the financial burdens of millions of families. Making it in America, as your congresswoman said, with American manufacturing. The best engineers in the world, like so many here at AET graduates, make up that cadre. From day one, every action I've taken to rebuild our economy has been guided by one principle: made in America. It means using products, parts, and materials built right here in the United States of America. It means bringing manufacturing jobs back and building the supply chains here at home, not outsourced from abroad. It means letting and betting on American workers, let them do the job and bet on them. And it takes a federal government that doesn't just give lip service to Buy American, but actually takes action. Most people don't know, I know the congressman knows, there's been a law in the book since the late 30s that says that you can use American tax dollars, and if your American tax dollars the president is spending, it should be spent on American products, and American businesses. Every administration says they'll do it since the late 30s. But now, over time, Buy America has become basically a hollow promise. My administration...
Right, because of the way you've expedited every single factory job from the United States and pushed them into other countries such as Mexico, China.
Administration is making Buy America a reality. We created Made in America in an office in the White House, a Made in America office to oversee these efforts.
It wasn't working the way we planned, so we had to actually appoint somebody to pay attention to what was going on.
You know, what's happened is that the exception used to be, if the president spends about $600 to $700 billion a year money on federal projects every year, from decks of aircraft carriers to so much more. And it's supposed to buy American businesses and American products. But the fact of the matter is that there was an exception. you couldn't readily find an American institution that either had this part of the supply chain and or the company, you didn't have to. You could buy it abroad. You could import it.
Which means you could just kind of fudge that if you wanted.
The Buy American Act in 70 years. Each year, the federal government spends more than $600 billion on goods and services. And in the past, if the manufactured product that you get purchased by the federal government says it is substantially all made substantially all in America, it worked. But because of loopholes over time, you know what substantially all meant?
Loopholes.
When I took office, meant that 55% of the product was made up of American business and American product. It was substantially all American product. Well, guess what? To me, 55% isn't substantially all. It's slightly over half. And so we issued a rule, raise the amount of domestic content required to be considered made in America from 55 to 75%. Substantially all is going to start meaning substantially all. And that's good for American workers and for American businesses, for communities like Greensboro. And I want to thank Congresswoman Manning, who's been a strong, strong supporter of Buy America. Now we're seeing the results of our economic vision. Our economy created 431,000 jobs in the month of March alone. 431,000. 7.9 million jobs over the course of my presidency. More jobs in the 14 months I've been president than any president ever created in American history. Unemployment at 3.6%. It's down from 6.4% when we took office 14 months ago. It's the fastest.
It's going to change again.
It's
going to change again.
North
Because
Carolina,
the second that people realize,
and the leadership of Governor Cooper, has
and
added
you go and you, because, you know, they all got their jobs back, they've been working.
194,000
And as long as they made
good job.
$3,000,
That's 67,000
they've replenished their funds to be able to
unlike the past recoveries, this time
file
around,
for
the American Rescue Plan
unemployment
made a
again.
choice to bring
So all that being said,
So not only has unemployment rate dropped,
now that everybody's able to actually refile again,
but black unemployment
as soon as
30%.
they feel the need to not go to work anymore, because, you know, you're going to give them something. You're going to give them another stim. If you keep on trying to, quote unquote, stimulate the economy,
We had the largest
you're not going to. It's not going to work.
unemployment ever
They're all going to, you know. I mean,
Look, folks,
we can listen to Dr. Fauci and what's supposedly coming around the corner,
we've seen the lowest child poverty rate ever projected.
and see what happens there again.
40% decline in child poverty.
And then maybe we'll say the next president created the same amount of jobs.
Record low credit card delinquencies because families have more money in their pockets to pay their bills.
Whoever that this happens to be.
All told, this economy grew by 5.7% last year in 2021, the fastest growth in 40 years. And in the
In
process,
40 years.
doing all this, we still cut the deficit last year by $350 billion, just last year alone.
Are you sure?
And by an additional $1 trillion this year if the budget goes through. So folks, don't tell me this trickle-down idea is the only way to grow an economy.
But I thought you
Lowering the deficit.
had been saying for years that trickle down isn't a thing.
And after a long, tough
Trickle down
stretch,
economics is a lie.
Americans are back to work. Our economy has gone from being on the mend to being on the move. Now, I know that we're still facing challenges of high prices, inflation. I grew up in a family where when the price of gasoline went up at the pump, it was a conversation at the kitchen table with my dad. Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. Ukraine and Russia are the 1 and 2 largest wheat producers in the world. We're number 3. They're shut down. We saw that in yesterday's inflation data. What people don't know is that 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike because of the impact on oil prices. 70%.
So, okay, so, you know, we're going to think about this for a few seconds. So that, you know, he brought up that wheat in Russia and Ukraine. So Ukraine's number 2. If Russia's number 1 and Ukraine's number 2, Russia go over, take territory and say, well, you know, hey, now we just number 1. Just saying.
70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike.
70%. We'll get to
World.
that.
We're number 3.
We got to go back a little bit more.
Putin's invasion of Ukraine has driven up gas prices and food prices all over the world. Ukraine and Russia are the 1 and 2 largest wheat producers in the world.
Ukraine and Russia are the number 1 and number 2. Who produces the most wheat in the world? In 2020, the total global production of wheat was 760 million tons. China, India, and Russia are the 3 largest individual wheat producers in the world, accounting for 41% of the world's total wheat production. The United States is 4th largest individual wheat producer. I mean, again, you old fool. When you go and you spread these lies that you like to spread, that we can simply go and put into a computer and we can see right in front of our own face. Everybody want to see this? You want to see what I'm showing you? Here, let me show you the screen here real fast. It'll take me a few seconds. Most wheat in the world. Look at that. Right there. You see that? China, in 2020, the total global production of wheat was 760 million tons. China, India, and Russia are the 3 largest individual wheat producers in the world, accounting for 41% of the world's total production. China is the largest land area devoted to wheat production, followed closely by the United States, India, and Russia Federation. So, I mean, according to this, because it places us number 4, but, behind China, India, and Russia. Which country is the largest producer of wheat? Which produces the best quality wheat? China, India, Russia. Show 6 more rows. Germany's 10. Ukraine's number 9. Pakistan's number 8. Canada's number 7. Australia's number 6. France is number 5. United States at number 4. With Russia at number 3. India at 2. And of course, China is number 1. Look at that. China, 134 million tons. United States produced 47 million tons. Ukraine only produced 26 million tons. So again, Joe Biden, who do you think you are talking to? Who? Simply. Just a simple question. Who do you think you're talking to? Because everything that you say is a lie. You expect us to believe you. No, we're not. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't show the screen. You get the point, right? You probably didn't hear it, so back it up. Boomer through it a little bit. Share the screen.
They're shut down. We saw that in yesterday's inflation data. What people don't know is that 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike because of the impact on oil prices.
70% was because of Putin. Do we want to believe him, or should we do some research? Should we look it up real quick? What was I gotta figure out how to word this correctly.
What people don't know is that 70% of the increase in inflation was a consequence of Putin's price hike.
Inflation rate 2022. United States inflation rate as the annual inflation rate of the U.S. accelerated to 8.5% in March 2022, the highest since December 1981, from 7.9% in February, and compared to the market forecast, 8.4%. Energy prices increased 32%, namely gasoline 48% and fuel oil 70.1%, as Russia invasion of Ukraine pushed crude oil prices higher. Also, food prices jumped 8.8% and most since 1981. Also, inflation accelerated for shelter and new vehicles, but eased on used cars and trucks. Excluding volatile energy and food categories, the CPI rose 6.5%, the most in 40 years, but slightly below forecast of 6.6. Many analysts expect that March will mark a peak inflation through the war of Ukraine as far from over. Supply chain bottlenecks persist and consumer demand remains elevated, which is likely to weigh on the CPI for long. So I mean, what's the issue? I thought, if Ukraine is, so easy to topple, what's taking so long? So then let's do a quick search through here. Inflation rises most in 40 years. 2 days ago, 1 day ago, from New York Times. Guardian put something out 2 days ago. They all put out the same article that I was just looking at. Survey data from the New York Fed showed that in March 2022, U.S. consumers expected a 6.6% inflation over the next 12 months, up from 6.0% in February. That marked the highest reading since the survey began in 2013. The steep month-to-month jump. Washington Post. Thank you, WAPO. Let's go a little bit further. And let's kind of jump in there a little bit. Who is this? This is Statistic Central whatever of Norway. Let's see what they have to say. Because, you know, not all the time do you have to listen to your own country when it comes to listening to the news and listening to price index, food and non-alcoholic beverage. Okay, that wasn't what I was looking for. The inflation hits 8.5 nationally. It's even higher in Arizona. Here's what to know. Oh, really? Isn't that rough? Inflation is rising. But what does that mean? Inflation in general sustained upward movement in prices of food and services in the economy. A 2% annual inflation rate means that on average a dollar buys 2% fewer goods and services than it did a year before. Moderate inflation is normal, desirable, and certainly better than the reverse deflation. The latter is a condition that where prices are dropping and people stop buying many goods and services, partly because they think they'll become cheaper down the road. Deflationary periods are associated with reduced economic activity and recessions. Why is inflation in the news now? How high is inflation in Arizona? 12-month inflation rate of 10.9% through February. Specific categories, some prices increases were eye-popping, including gains of 43.8 for gasoline, 38.5 on used cars and trucks, 17.2 on natural gas, 16.2 for meats, poultry, fish, eggs, and 12.4 for housing. All of those numbers reflect Phoenix area changes from March 2021 through February 2022 as tracked by the BLS. Sharp housing price hikes around the Metro Phoenix are responsible for much of that 10.9% overall inflation increase. Have many items dropped in price? Not lately. Around the Phoenix area, restaurant meals rose comparatively modest 5.9% over the 12-month. Cereals, baked goods increased 5.5%. Alcoholic beverage rose 1.4%. Education and communication services rose 1.2%. And go figure. I mean, just across the board, It's more expensive to live than it was at any other point in time in the last 40 years. Let's move on.
Because of the impact on oil prices, 70%. We need to address these high prices, and urgently, for working folks out there. And that's part of why what I'm going to talk to you about today, why it's so important. When we build more in America, we increase economic capacity, and ultimately it helps lower everyday prices for families. That's what we're starting to see. Look around. American manufacturing is coming back. Once again, we're seeing the pride that comes from stamping a product made in America. Companies are choosing to build their new factories here in America, when just a few years ago, as you all know, that wouldn't have been the case. They would have built the factory overseas. Intel is building the chairman of the board of Intel asked to come and see me a little over a month ago. He's building a semiconductor mega site just outside of Columbus, Ohio, investing $20 billion.
There's a couple of microchip processing plants that are being produced in the United States. This isn't something new.
About the size of a fingertip.
You think it's because of your administration, and it's not.
Every advancement is because of us. We don't make them anymore here. You go to Taiwan and other places to get it. Up to 8 state-of-the-art factories are going to be in one place that Intel is building. 7,000 new jobs building the facility, and 3,000 jobs running the facility. You know what the average salary of these jobs running the facility will be? $135,000 a year. Making computer chips the size of a fingertip that power the world in our everyday lives. Smartphones, internet, technology that doesn't even exist today. If Congress passes the Bipartisan Innovation Act, which the Congresswoman talked about, and it's on my desk, puts it on my desk right now, Intel is ready, and they've committed to add, in addition to the $20 billion, $100 billion more. $120 billion in one site. That's just the start. And Intel alone, we're seeing it right here, thanks to the leadership of Governor Cooper and Congresswoman Manning. In last year's Thomas built buses at High Point, which I went down to see. It's incredible. What you all are doing is really incredible. They got the largest order to date in North America to build electric school buses, electric school bus fleets, which Administrator Regan can tell you will mean hundreds of thousands of our children will no longer be inhaling exhaust from diesel school buses. And they function and they roll. Volvo Trucks, with the research and development headquarters here in Greensboro, got the largest commercial order ever for electric trucks. And just a few months ago, Toyota announced it will invest $1.3 billion to build a new electric battery manufacturing plant right here in Greensboro. Folks, you know what that also means? Not just the factory, but the IBW is going to be putting in 530,000 charging stations throughout America. 530,000.
Wow, staggering. Across the United States of America. This isn't just in like Greensboro or just in the state or just in, a part of the country. This is across the whole United States. And you want everybody to be able to switch over, and they're all going to plug into these whenever they need and sit for a couple hours waiting for battery charge before they can take off.
And when this plant comes online, this could produce enough batteries to power 800,000 vehicles per year with room to grow. It's going to create 1,750 good-paying jobs right here in the Greensboro community. And folks...
Are you sure?
by the way, you know, it's not just, there's a lot else happening. If I can divert just a second here. I had Mary Barra, the chairman of the board of General Motors. Remember when about 10 months ago, she was suing the state of California for having a higher standard required for gasoline, have to go more miles per gallon? She was suing them, saying you can't do what the federal government hadn't done. Guess what? We had a long talk. No, I didn't know. I mean, it was her idea, not mine. But we had a long talk. Guess what? She decided not only did she drop the suit, but they're going to have 50% of all the vehicles made at General Motors electric vehicles by the year 2030. And guess what? Then Ford came along. They did the same thing. They're investing billions of dollars, 1.7. I mean, this is a major fundamental shift that's taking place. And America's finally deciding to catch up and lead it instead of being outpaced by China and other countries. All told, thus far, we've created 365,000 new manufacturing jobs in America just last year. That's the best year for U.S. manufacturing in the last 30 years. And even you students who are younger, how many when you're coming up and hear your parents talk about manufacturing is dead in America? It's not going to happen. There's not a thing, not a single thing America cannot do. Not a single thing where we can't outcompete the rest of the world. I mean it. Not a single thing. We set our mind to it. Good paying jobs, jobs you can raise a family on, jobs that can't be outsourced. Announcements like these don't happen in a vacuum. They require investments. We know what happens when we stop investing in the future and the places like Greensboro. We really do. You or your parents remember what it felt like when industries like the textile industry started to decline. Delaware used to be a great textile state. It all evaporated. Good jobs lost over time.
I mean, why does he keep on bringing up these two states? What's with Pennsylvania and Delaware? Why does everything have to be compared to these two states? It's not a joke.
Well, guess what? What it did to families, what it did to neighborhoods, was consequential. Because we stopped investing in our future for a while. We stopped investing in our people. I got criticized when I kept saying we're going to invest in the American people. Decades ago, we used to invest 2% of our gross domestic product in research and development. 2%. And we led the world. Today, we invest less than 1%. The United States of America used to be ranked #1 in the world in investing in the future. Now we're ranked number 9 in research and development.
Old man, why you keep on doing this to me?
We're ranked number 9 in the world. The United States of America used to be ranked #1 in the world in investing in the future. Now we're ranked.
Investing in the future. Research and development is what he says.
Number 9.
this is a fact sheet, research and development by the numbers. In 2020, the United States is estimated to have spent over $500 billion, $708 billion on R&D. The vast majority of the investment, $532 billion, came from the private sector. Overall, R&D investment represents nearly 4% of American GDP, again 75% of the figure, or nearly 2.6% of GDP, is funded through private business R&D investments. State by state GDP percentages can be found here. Manufacturers and America's largest investors in R&D account for roughly 3/5 of the private sector. R&D spending in 2019, more than 1/5 of the private R&D investments came from the IT companies. Around the world, the U.S. faces increasingly fierce competition in R&D investment dollars. In 2019, the U.S. share of global R&D investments was 30%. This is down from 33% in 2009 and 40% in 1999. You know, I mean, George Bush, Barack Obama, you know, bottom line, give the positive impact of R&D investment in our nation's economy. America's leaders in both government and business have an obligation to maintain a favorable environment for R&D spending in the United States. From a tax perspective, that means preserving existing incentives from R&D in the tax code, and more importantly, preventing the capitalization of R&D expenses, which would erode businesses' ability to invest in R&D.
Number 9, research and development.
I'm going to have to look more into that and get
China was
a
number
ranking.
8 3 decades ago. Now it's number 2.
Which one? What's
Other
this?
countries are closing in fast. We can and we must change that. Not by hurting them.
Leading countries by gross research and development expenditure worldwide in 2021. China, 621.5. United States, 598.7. Next is Japan at 182.36. You know, when it comes down to what's being spent and what isn't, you know, dang well that we're not ranked, what did you say, number 9? Yeah, you hold your hand out like that for a while.
Now it's number 2. Other countries are closing in fast. We can and we must change that. Development. The United States of America. China was number 8 3 decades ago. Now we used to be ranked number 1 in the world in investing in the future. Now we're ranked number 9.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. United Kingdom's ranked number 9 at 51.61. I mean, we're at, like I said, 598.7. So, I mean, what this guy's going off on is ridiculous, and just
Number 9.
stop line.
In research and development. The United States of America. China was number 8 3 decades ago. Now it's number 2. Other countries are closing in fast. We can and we must change that. Not by hurting other countries, but by developing ourselves. We have a great opportunity ahead of us with the Bipartisan Innovation Act I mentioned, which is going to provide $90 billion in research and development, STEM education, manufacturing, all those elements of the supply chain that we need to produce end products right here in America. If I told those of you who are closer to my age in the audience, if we told your parents that we'd be here, they'd look at like we were crazy. What do you mean? We're the leader in the world. Not so. Congress needs to get this bill to my desk as quickly as possible. Our economic strength is on the line. and national security as well is on the line. Companies are ready to invest in America, in American communities, in American workers. But they need to see that their government is capable of investing in our future. Other countries are racing ahead, but we can't afford to wait. So Congress, get this bipartisan bill to my desk. North Carolina needs it. America needs it. And let's meet this moment together. That's exactly what we did when we passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, which you lurk like the devil on. Our infrastructure used to be rated the best in the world again. Now we rank number 13 in the world. Bridges, roads, etc. Rank 13. Why did we develop so fast, so well? Where are you going to build your factory? Near a port that can get everything out of that you manufacture and get everything out to the rest of the world quickly? Or something that takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get it there? It's all about speed. We can't compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix our infrastructure. But now, thanks to the infrastructure law, we're turning things around in a major way. We've already announced billions to improve the more than 3,000 airports in the 50 states that need serious help. Digress again for just a second. I was out when I was vice president at O'Hare Airport, and I was trying to get onto the Air Force Two, going up an escalator, and had a sign at the top, out of order, will be fixed in 2 weeks. Not a joke. The United States of America, one of the busiest airports in the world, fixed in 2 weeks. And I got in trouble because it said if I took you into O'Hare Airport blindfold in the middle of the night and took you into one of China's airports blindfold in the middle of the night, I said, where are you, China or the United States? You'd probably think the Chinese airport was ours. It's so modern, so different. Well, this year, $92 million is available to North Carolina alone to upgrade your airport infrastructure. $92 million. We're modernizing highways, roads, bridges, ports. And this year, North Carolina is going to receive $1.4 billion in funding for roads and bridges, another $99 billion dedicated to funding for bridges that are in disrepair. Folks, we're also building a national network of electric charging stations I mentioned earlier for vehicles powered by these batteries that we're going to manufacture here in Greensboro. And this year, North Carolina is eligible to receive nearly $16 million in electric vehicle charging stations. We're also getting rid of poisonous lead pipes that are in 10 million homes in America and 400,000 schools and daycare centers. And there's serious brain damage. Not a joke. So kids and families can have clean drinking water. And this year, North Carolina will receive $199 million for clean water because of that man right there, the governor. Folks, we're going to deliver affordable, high-speed internet everywhere. In urban America, rural America, suburban and tribal communities. So moms don't have to do this. I wonder if you ever thought this would happen in America. Remember 2-3 months ago when schools were still shut down? Showing pictures of moms and dads driving to the parking lot of McDonald's so they could connect the internet so the kid could do their homework. Not a joke. Not a joke. What the hell's going on here? All these investments in infrastructure, research, and development, making it America, are really about one thing: empowering more communities to do what you're doing here in Greensboro, transforming yourself into a city of the future, not the past, where instead of shuttered factories, we're building clean energy technology that's going to power the future in America and around the world. Helping America achieve true energy independence by creating good jobs and fighting for climate change. And if we continue this, we're not only going to be investing here, we're going to export billions of dollars worth of product for the rest of the world. One of the proposals I have I won't go into now is to build back better world. So all those countries in Africa, in Latin America, in the Middle East who don't have the capacity to make it better for themselves. We cut down all our forests, we're doing fine. Guess what? We're part of the reason for the global warming. A lot of poor countries. Do you realize one of the greatest carbon sinks in the world, absorbing carbon from the air, is the Amazon. The Amazon absorbs more pollutants, more carbon into the soil and the water in the Amazon than are emitted in the entire United States in 1 year, every year. But they don't have the money. But what they want to do, they want to level it so they can farm it, they can produce things on it, and use up that sink. You know, and even reinventing the legacy industries that Greensboro's been built on has been possible. The 21st century smart textiles, they use chips and sensors to do things like regulate temperature in a garment. State-of-the-art facilities that make high-quality furniture. Above all, you're making Greensboro a place where the future is being written. Not a joke. The future is being written. Where students at great schools like A&T and other local universities and your incredible community colleges can lead learning, cutting-edge skills with state-of-the-art facilities, partnering with local employers. So look, so they can get out, help America lead the way on robotics and cybersecurity and so much more. And see that success reflected back home in their communities, not just in Greensboro, but across the country. So families can have good paychecks, good homes, great futures. My dad would say, my dad was a very well-read man. His greatest regret was he never got to go to college. And my dad used to say that everybody deserves just a little bit of breathing room. Just a little bit of breathing room. I was raised in a 3-bedroom split-level home when we moved down to Delaware when coal died in Scranton and jobs were gone. And with 4 kids, a grandpa, and my mom and dad. And I remember one day you could always hear when Dad was restless. I asked Mom on the way to school, "What's the matter?" He said, "Honey, Dad's company they said no more health insurance. No more health insurance." Not only deprives a woman or a man of their health, but of their dignity. Their dignity. Look at a child, or husband, or wife who needs help. Can't get the help. One of the things we're trying to get done in the Congress is to pass legislation that won't raise taxes a single penny for anybody making less than $400 grand, and above that it'll only be a smidgen for dealing with insulin. You got 200,000 kids with type 1 diabetes. They don't get their insulin. Many of you may know somebody, or you may have type 1 diabetes. You need the insulin. It costs $10 a vial to make. Average price, $646 a month. Not only imagine what happens when you don't have that money because you don't have the insurance or the cash. Imagine being a parent, looking at your child with type 1 diabetes and know there's not a damn thing you can do. Deprives you of your dignity. Takes everything away from you. Well, guess what? For little or nothing, we can limit that price to $35 a month and they'll still make 350% profit. Folks, that's a story we got to keep writing. And by the way, I'm a capitalist. I'm not somebody who doesn't think we should be able to go out and make, $1 million or $1 billion. Just pay your fair share. Just pay a little tiny bit. Not a joke. The Fortune 500 companies, and I come from the corporate capital of the world. Not a joke. More companies incorporated in the state of Delaware than the entire United States of America combined. And I was a senator of 36 years. But guess what? 55 of them last year didn't pay a single penny in tax.
You sure?
They made $40 billion. So folks, look, we have to keep going on so many other issues to deliver the promise of America to all Americans. For example, equity and opportunity require more than just economic investment. They require police and criminal justice reform. Even though Congress isn't taking action, my administration hears and sees the people who need it badly. We're making changes in the federal law. Police need more money, not less, in order to have social workers and others with them, not just to teach them how to do their job better, but also we need rules that I've initiated federally. No more chokeholds, no more no-knock warrants, requiring federal agents to wear protective body cameras. We're going to sit back while Republican Congress stand in the way of justice. I'm sorry to be partisan about that, but they are. They're unwilling to do anything. We're taking action. Today, my administration has also released the first ever equity action plan, laying out more than 300 concrete commitments to tear down the systematic barriers that have been allowed to fester for far too long in America. Things like getting pollution out of low-income neighborhoods. You notice they're always the last to ever be touched. In Delaware, a big chemical industry. Well, guess what? The corridor that we run down, going down the state, fence line communities, cancer rate, we have one of the highest cancer rates in America. Why? Because all these poor communities live near these near these places. When I was growing up in Claymont, Delaware, not a joke. We lived right on.
Dude, you don't have to tell us it's not a joke. You telling us it's not a joke just
Pennsylvania
keeps on bringing up the fact that it probably is.
More oil refineries in Marcus Hook, Pennsylvania, and the bend of the Delaware River than anywhere, including Houston. Guess what? When it got to be fall, I was in 4th grade, and there got a little frost. My mom would get in the car to drive me to school, which was only 3/4 of a mile away, but it was on the highway. Turn on the windshield wiper, there'd be an oil slick in the window. That wouldn't have happened where I live now, in a nice neighborhood. Never happened. Making sure the minority-owned businesses can access capital they need to grow. So no community is locked out of opportunity. Look. And I'm not saying this because I'm an HBCU. I've been saying this my whole career. When I ran for office.
You're an HBCU?
I said, I'm sick and tired of trickle-down economy.
You're sick and tired of it, huh? Because you've been spewing the lie for the last 50 years that, you know, trickle-down economics doesn't exist. But now all of a sudden it does? Disgusting.
About building from the middle up and out. Because when the middle does well, everybody does. The poor have a way up, and the wealthy do very well. The bottom line is this.
Kind of sounds similar to other forms of, you know, economics.
The United States is in a position to outcompete the world once again. We have an incredible opportunity ahead of us. We still face tremendous challenges. But if we can keep coming together, invest in the backbone of America, the middle class, our great universities, hardworking families, STEM education, clean technologies for tomorrow. There's simply no limit, I mean it, no limit to what we can achieve. So let's continue giving working families a fighting chance. Let's keep investing in the future of this country, of every community. And let's face these challenges head on. Let's keep building a better America. Because that's who we've been. That's who we are. And we can do this. Still grow the economy, still be the wealthiest nation in the world, still reduce deficits by growing. Growing, growing, growing. There's not a single thing America can't do when we do it together as the United States of America. God bless you all.
What? You just put your hand out for who? Whose hand are you shaking, old man? That guy's? You're ridiculous. Well, all that being said, I'm surprised I actually made it 2 hours by myself. I'm proud of myself. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening to my rant. I don't feel I need to thank you for watching, Joe Biden. Sorry I made you do that. It is Thursday night. Friday morning. That being said, I do have a regular job that I work on Friday here. I will not have a show come tonight. Thank you very much for showing up and helping us, or helping me. Let's hope that everybody else is doing okay. AmericaShirts.com. You go to his website and you put in promo code Koolfrogg. That's Koolfrogg, and you can get 15% off anything in store. That being said, if you want to support me immediately, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Koolfrogg. Anything that you actually put in there, comments, and or any other tip of sort, will be actually greatly appreciated and would be read live on show. That being said, thank you very, very much. Don't forget to follow myself. Jimmy YouTube was in chat for a little bit. Grimsbar was in chat for a little bit. And of course, like I said, America's Shirts. Give him a follow. He's got a Rumble channel going on. Very, good stuff. If you're interested in finding anybody, go down below. Hit those links that are sitting in the description. Thank you very much. Have a good night. Later.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.